There's no teleprompter here. She just did that, right off script.
Welcome to the Young Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Melina, and I'm super excited to bring you this podcast where we explore the journeys and advice of successful leaders. Today's guest is a podcast host, entrepreneur, real estate expert, and sales expert. He's had over 30 years of experience in the sales industry and service industry, and he's also written a book, Real Estate Intelligence. I'm super excited to invite Jazz Tucker to this podcast. Hello, Jazz. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, I'm amazing. I'm actually even better now hearing all the nice things you had to say about me, but I got to say something before we get started. I've probably been on in the last 2 years about, and I'm not exaggerating, so I'll make sure I be conservative with this number, 500 to 600 podcasts.
Okay.
And that was probably one or two of the best introductions I've heard. And just for everybody who is watching and listening wherever you are, there's no teleprompter here. She just did that, right off script. She probably remembered some of it and all that. She has some phone with notes, but to see that, girl, and see the confidence that you've spoken, I mean, it is a breath of fresh air for me. So thank you for those kind words.
Thank you.
B, I haven't had the opportunity to watch or listen to other podcasts you've done, but I highly recommend that you continue doing it because you have something, and I want to be cool now with the kids as well, because I know we're speaking to young leaders. You got the riz, you got the charisma, obviously. So make sure you continue doing it.
Thank you so much. Well, we're going to start off this podcast with this one question I want to ask you. Out of all the entrepreneurs in the world, who is one person that you would like to sit with? What would you ask them and why?
Wow, that's a great question. I've been really, really blessed, Melina, to sit down with a lot of the entrepreneurs that I at one point dreamt of sitting down with and asking questions. And so I think when you ask that question, so the one that I haven't sat down with, and it might strike people as interesting because they don't think of him as an entrepreneur, is a gentleman by the name of Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins, yes.
Anthony Robbins. Most people think of him as a motivational speaker, which he is, obviously, but I think he owns now about 14 to 18 businesses. So he owns it himself, or he's partnered with some of these businesses. So he is an entrepreneur, which, his backstory is just amazing. So for people that don't know him, you should definitely dive into this guy. Changed the course of my life when I started listening to him and reading his books at the age of 22, 23. I think the question I would ask him would be how does he keep his team motivated? I think that's it. I feel like I do a good job right now with my team. And if I'm being very, very honest with myself and you, I would say I'm probably somewhere from where I want to be in terms of a leader with my team. If the top is 10, that's where I want to be. I'm probably somewhere around 6.1, 6.2. So I got some growth. And so the question I would ask him, because I know he has under his leadership, he might have hundreds, if not thousands of people. How does he keep them inspired? And so that's the question I would ask him.
Wow, that's amazing. How would you keep your team inspired? What do you do that really inspires your team?
I yell at them. I get to know them a lot. If you ask me about any team member that I have, I can tell you right now, and this will change because they'll change, they'll grow and they'll get older and they'll get more experience and they'll have more likes or dislikes. But I can tell you from the minute they say hi to me, I know how their day was at home. And you know that because how much time you spend with somebody. It's like in any relationship, right? I'm looking at your father behind the camera right now. He kind of knows, when you're having a good day, bad day, you probably know, okay, I'll maybe stay away from him today. This is not the time to ask him, right? That
Yes.
right there actually is it. When you want something from dad, you kind of feel him out a little bit by his mode, his body language and all that. That's what I do really well with my team. Mm-hmm. I know when I can push Bo and when I need to stay off of him a little bit. I'm looking at Mel, she's my chief of staff. She kind of runs all things Jazz Tackar, all the organizations, the personal brand, nothing kind of gets to me without going through her first. She walks in, I know, is this a day, okay, Mel, I got 17 things to do, which I always do. Or is it like, okay, let me just make sure I'll watch her now for a minute. Okay, she got her coffee. Okay, I'll drop a joke, like a silly, stupid dad joke. She's not gonna find them funny anyways, but did she at least entertain me and laugh, you know? And if she didn't, that means I know something's going on. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna watch throughout that day, can I catch her in a moment by herself, right? And so, I guess this might sound creepy, so stick with me here, but I'm watching when she goes to the washroom. Not following her in the washroom, but I'm watching when she's going, because I'm gonna catch her in the hallway. And that's when I'm gonna be like, hey man, like what's going on? Did you need some time off? Did you want to go home? Is like, what's happening? And I'm just kind of quasi picking on her, but that's when I get to realize maybe it's something that did happen at home. Maybe she's just having one of those days because she's a human, and I know I have those days. And so I keep them inspired by getting to know them, seeing what their likes and dislikes are, trying to give them as much of an environment that they can play in those likes. And then I try to protect them from their dislikes as much as I possibly can.
Okay. And so you're like a sales expert, and you're known as really good on social media as well. From the sales side, what's been like one piece of advice that's really changed your sales like view that you would want to give to anyone?
I'm not sure if this is advice that I got from a sales guru or expert or even a book. I think the advice that I would give to somebody else is don't get into sales if you can't be resilient. Like sales to me, and I appreciate the words that you threw out there, truly, I'm just, one guy who did something for a very, very long time, and I kind of stayed away from doing anything else. That thing being sales. I didn't do well in school. I didn't have any other jobs I went into, like any other industries I went into. It was always sales related. And so the advice that I'm giving is coming from complete experience. I take more no's than I get yeses. Every single day. Every single day. There is days that we get a lot of yeses, but make no qualms about it. Make no mistakes about it. I got way more no's that day than I got the yeses. So if you can't, as a person, not even a salesperson, as a person, be resilient to that no and no and no and no, this is not the industry for you. And so the advice I would give on top of that, if you're someone who's like, okay, well, I'm already in sales, bro. Like, what do I do now? Yeah. Okay. Then get into an environment where people are doing it at a very high level. Because if you're in sales and doing it at a high level, you're kind of numb to it. So I'm numb to it. I get, as I mentioned, so many no's. It doesn't even faze me. Not because I'm Superman. It's just because I've done it so many times that I know a yes is coming. So in a weird way, and I appreciate the question because I don't know if I've ever articulated it like this. I actually almost expect the no, which is fine with me because it's like, okay, there's a yes coming. It's coming soon. Because I've also know about sales that it's a law of averages. Mm-hmm. It always pans out. You get 57 no's and the 58 is the yes. But you have to go through the 57.
Yeah. And so then in this day and age, with the type of technology that we had, if you had to make or create a new business from scratch that is not related to sales or real estate, what would it be?
Wow, what a fantastic question. I've never even went there in my head, girl, because I love sales so much and everything around it. But I think if I was going to do a new business, it would probably be a nonprofit. I'm 42 years. I know you said earlier I look 22. She didn't say that, but anyways, it kind of fills my ego up. At 42 now, as I guess you get older, now I want to start giving back more. I don't want to be 72 and start the process of giving back. So if I were to start another, I know it's not your traditional business, but it would be a nonprofit because that would give me the ability to give back. In what industry? I don't know. I would definitely partner up with somebody and partner up with multiple people because that's just my nature. And so I could probably jump on the bandwagon of a passion of another partner of mine or multiple partners, right? And so if my wife said she had a passion for giving back to underprivileged XYZ, then I could probably get on top. Like I can get on board with that. But if I were to start another business, and God knows I don't need another one right now, it would be a nonprofit.
Yeah, that kind of relates to me as well because I have this goal where I want to donate $1.5 million to SickKids Hospital within the next couple of years.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And I've been working on trying to get those sales, but it's just one thing that I've always wanted to do is donate to them. I think that passion started when I was in grade 4.
Can I ask why?
So when I was in grade 4, I didn't know. I just wanted to. But as I got older, once my sister, she had a bit like a higher fever, and the local hospital was like, they couldn't do anything. So we went to SickKids and they helped her. And I had a small little purse with me that time because I love dressing up. And I only had a toonie in there. And there was a big sign that said, do you want to donate to SickKids? I saw it and I'm like, Dad, I want to do this. And he's like, okay. And he pulls out his wallet. I'm like, no, put that back. I want to do this with my money. I put in that toonie, and then ever since that's just been that thing that I want to donate more to help all those little kids, because if they were able to help my sister from just a fever, imagine how many other kids that they can help who are going through so much stuff.
100%.
So that's what one of my goals is. So if you wanted to start that nonprofit, like where would you start off?
Look, I mean, in your situation, I would find out what who's the head of, and it's funny because we're talking about SickKids. We actually it just happened that it turned off during the pandemic just because of things were happening in lockdown. But we, for 7-8 years, my real estate company, we always did a massive toy drive that we always donated to SickKids. So it's just funny that you're mentioning that because both myself and my business partner, we both have 2 kids each, and touch black, both of them very healthy, all 4 kids between the 2 of us very healthy. And so we always knew, like, oh my God, there is a lot of people there. I had to take my 9-year-old now, who's 9 now, actually to SickKids for a high fever once as well. And so I completely am like I got goosebumps just thinking about that day when I had to go, but also your story. What I would do is get in touch with like the main person, that the director for SickKids who takes in donations. I would actually go work there for free. And so I'm just talking about it from your perspective. Like if I was going to start something, I mean, I have 77 ideas around that, and I don't know where, I would take this for the sake of this conversation. But I think for you, like putting in an hour a week, even, it doesn't need to be 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. Why? Because you're going to start to realize some of their gaps. I can tell you, as big as we think SickKids is downtown Toronto, which it's huge, they have tons of gaps. They have holes in their businesses. They don't have people who are always wanting to, as a teenager wants to give back. And so you are going to be able to play a role in there. I guess the advice I really want to give is to get out there and meet people there, because there's one way of giving the 1.5 million. I think that was the number you said, right? Yes. That's huge, and that's amazing, and you should have that as a metric. But there's also something that's actually finite for you, which is time. Right? You just have a lot more than me and your dad right now, which is awesome, but it is finite. And so that's actually harder to give, right? Because we know that that's going to end, right? And so just giving of your time might be another strategy for you.
Okay, that's amazing. And then you've also written a book, Real Estate Intelligence. What inspired you to write a book, and how did you know it was the right time to write that book? Because sometimes I feel like I want to write a book, and then other days I'm like, I don't want to write a book. I don't think I've done enough. And I'm like, I think I've got something. Maybe I should write one. How do you know it's the right time to?
You never know it's the right time in anything. That's my experience in anything. I have 2 boys, as I mentioned. There's no right time for it. You're never prepared to be a parent at all. And so that just happens. And then when it does, you got to figure it out. To me, starting a business, there's never a right time to really start a business, right? There's really never a bad time. It's just, is it a good business or a bad business? That's a different conversation. In terms of a book, for you again, and for anybody who's watching or listening that might be at the same kind of process as you in their head, is just get pen to paper. Don't worry about what you've done. Just talk about what you're doing. And the book will start to unfold itself, right? And so if you're journaling, the accumulation of all your posts as your journal, that could be the book, right? It could just be your diary, for example, and whatever you're willing to share. So I would say heavily consider just putting out what you're doing. Don't worry about what you've done right now, okay? In terms of the book that I wrote, it's not really an inspirational book. That's my next book that I want to put together. Our book is called Real Estate Intelligence. It's a guide on how to buy a home, sell a home, and invest in a home by yourself. So it was a complete marketing initiative. Mm-hmm. It was only for the process of teaching people how to do it on their own, knowing, full transparency, knowing that they'll never do it on their own. But if they read the book or even got the book and touched it in their hands and felt that it was real, then we could possibly be the authority that they would come back to buy, sell, or invest with, right? So I actually just got tired of answering the same question. Mm-hmm. What's the best way to sell a home? How do I stage the home? What's the lawyer's fees? How much does it cost for maintenance? And all these questions that I was like, let me just put the notes together. Let me just put the notes. And then I started like putting notes, kind of similar to what I said to you. I was just emailing them. You're writing in a diary or a journal. And then next thing I knew was like, oh my God, like there's a full book here, got my team together. I can't put a sentence together if my life depended on it. And so I had a bunch of notes, and then my VP, my business partner, my coaching academy started to put all these sentences together, made me kind of look smart. And so I wouldn't say that Jazz Takar really wrote the book as much as it was a collective effort of my team. Hence why, like even the book that I have in my hand right now, it doesn't say my name anywhere on it. It says my company name because I like to give the flowers to the people who actually put it all together.
Okay, and now we have a mystery question that was left from my previous guest for you.
Okay, cool.
So the question is, what is one question that you wish that I asked you, and what would be your answer to it?
How did you get so good looking, Jazz? One question that I wish you that's a good one. Because I have a feeling I know where you're going next with me, so I got to make sure that I'm prepared for that one. But I would probably, you know what a lot of people don't ask me is how I found my passion. I think that's it, and I think they ask themselves in different ways that question, because we're all looking, generally speaking, we're all looking at other people like Beyonce and Sidney Crosby and Michael Jordan and saying, wow, like they're so passionate about what they're doing. Oh my God, they're so good, and they're, GOATs, and all these words get thrown out. But yet very few of us remind ourselves and almost demand of ourselves the question of, well, what did I get sprinkled with? Because why did God, universe, whatever you want to call it, why do we think that they only chose those people? Impossible. I will not believe that. I believe that he, she, whatever you want to call it, sprinkled everyone with a little bit of dust. It's our job now to find what that is, because again, we only have a certain amount of time here. So not to go all in on that is, to me, almost a waste of this gift that we were given, that the chances of us being born is like 1 out of 400 trillion or some nonsense, if you Google it or chat GPT it, that we don't go all in on that. And I just feel like I did. right? And to answer my own question, it's a matter of trying out a lot of things very, very quickly. That's why you don't want to sit around and do nothing for a long time. Look, you got to rest and sleep. I'm not saying that, but I think what you need to do, and everybody who's watching and listening right now, they need to try things as many times as possible, as much as possible, because then there's this nice mixture and hybrid that happens, that you find what you're naturally good at, what you're passionate about. When they meet, there is no other word that I found than being it, then you're deadly. Because now you're passionate and you're naturally good at it. Watch out. That's why there's the Michael Jordans and the Kobes and the so on and so forth. Because the truth of the matter is, I don't think Beyonce cared about her science grade. Like, she just didn't. I don't think Jordan cared about his history grade. What he really cared about was, how many times can I shoot this ball? How many times can I sing this note? And so I think everybody in our lives need to start to find that.
Okay, and what would be your mystery question?
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to go there.
So what would be your mystery question for the next guest?
Why not you?
Why not you?
And the context in that is taking the layup from kind of my last soliloquy there, which is, why, when you see other people, you think that they were given a gift and that they deserve success, or they deserve to donate and raise $1.5 million. My question for your next guest would be, why not you?
Okay. Well, that was amazing. This was such an amazing conversation. Thank you so much, Jazz, for being here. And thank you to everyone listening in. So everyone who is listening, stay tuned for the next episode.